Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. With 17 stores across the southeast, there's a Mulligan's pharmacy near you.
Good morning and welcome to the show. A special mention to Margaret, who spoke to me last night, who said, I said yesterday it was going to rain at 4 o'clock. It didn't rain till 4:30 and she was given out. You never believe those weather forecasts, I'll tell you that. Text or WhatsApp 083 3333 975 083 3333 975, or you can call Audrey 051 846 123. Now we've got our last two tickets to give out regarding Sarah Oudon. She's a keynote speaker at the Imrama Festival of Writing that's taking place down in Lismore. Yesterday our question was text in what town it was, and that was Lismore. So now it's the Imrama Festival of what type of writing? The Imrama Festival of what type of writing? One word, beginning with the letter T. Text us in to 083 3333 975. You can win 2 tickets to see Sarah Oudon, this renowned author, and who's rowed solo across the Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean. 2 tickets to that and worth €50, €25 each. In a few minutes we're going to be talking to Joe Healy, President of the IFA. We're also going to be talking to Casey Dunn, an update on her health situation. Very interesting to hear what has to say there. Brian O'Halloran is going to be joining us talking about Waterford hurling. We also talk to Rhodey Keary about rates in Waterford. Elaine Fennelly talking about a great announcement regarding a conference that's coming up in Waterford. And we'll have that piece from the Holy Ghost that we weren't able to play yesterday. Only 1 week left to register for the annual WLR Waterford Viking Marathon taking place on the 22nd of June. So a record 3,000 have signed up already. So make sure to get onto the website and sign up there for that regarding the Viking Marathon. The best of luck to everybody who's taking part in the training. A lot of your texts and callers yesterday regarding Derek McGrath. Derek McGrath nurtured the under-21s, combined them with experienced players, brought them into within 3 points of an All-Ireland. No disrespect to the current manager, but what the team needed when Derek left was an experienced county manager to deal with a now experienced team. Others have said, can we have a statement from the players and what they think the performances were so bad? I feel the supporters deserve this at least. Another texter had said, there has to be a change of management or there'll be no support next year. Others have said, Pádraig must be given time. He needs a chance. He's not even there 12 months. Texter says, there's a convention on in December, and why don't all the bright sparks on the hurlers on the ditch put their names forward to run and get involved with the county board? That's from our texter in mid-Waterford. Regarding the footballers, they were way too much defensive from Benji, says this person at the weekend. Hard to watch, only one forward up front. No chance of scoring a winning freeze when you don't attack. Benji believes that the team has made progress this year, said another texter, and fair play to them and best of luck next season. Facebook comments on the compensation culture. It's due to the fact that Irish accidents are more severe than in other countries. Do you believe this true? Vicky Butler says yes, because we've a system that facilitates it 100%. Caroline O'Riordan says, I don't believe we've a claim culture. I think insurance companies would like us to believe that we do is to shame people into not claiming for accidents. Robbie Barry says, well, if you're unsupervised on a swing in your 40s and you fall off after a few beers, you definitely have a case. Stephen Farrell said, accidents no longer happen in Ireland. People sue over the smallest thing. We had a text in there a few minutes ago from Mary Power regarding a programme on Trump last night, a fabulous programme on Virgin One. It should be watched. She said it's excellent. Regarding the pact in the council, Labour, Sinn Féin, the Green Party, various independents, what do you think? James Walsh says, a change is no harm. Ger Hearn says, it's good to give the other side a chance and see what they'll be like. No excuses. We're going to have Breda Brennan on to talk about that shortly. Regarding Jennifer O'Connell in the Irish Times and the survey and about retail in Waterford, whether it's a good sign, Pat Morrissey said, I disagree with Jennifer. Nora Gooch says there's very little choice in terms of shopping and Waterford needs to be a lot more, bring down the rates. We're going to be talking to Rhodey Keary about that. There's also very little choice, says Kevin Power, by way of clothing for men. Niamh Malloy says parking in town in places is too expensive, and Quinlan says pennies in Waterford is brilliant and we should have more of that. Want to wish Margaret Power and Sunrise from Dunmore East a belated happy birthday from her friend in Passage. We're joined now on the line by Ger Healy. Good morning, Ger.
Good morning.
How are you getting on? Joe Healy.
I'm good.
Joe Healy is president of the IFA. Joe Healy, this morning the Cabinet is discussing a matter which is very, very close to a lot of your members. Young farmers will be tied up to the land for at least 6 years if they want the state to subsidise their parents' nursing home fees. So writes Kevin Doyle, political reporter, editor with the Irish Independent. This is a long-awaited overhaul of the Fair Deal scheme to reduce the burden on farm families and small business owners. It's going to be approved today. What's your thoughts on it, Joe?
Well, first of all, we welcome it. It's long overdue. We would have hoped that we'd have got to this point a year ago, and that it would have moved on and be actually covered for at this stage. Unfortunately, it's only at this stage now, and still has a number of other stages. It goes through the approval today, then it has to go for pre-legislative scrutiny at an Oireachtas committee. But the drafting of the bill will hopefully be ongoing simultaneously. And then the expectation is that it goes to the Seanad for discussion in the autumn. But, the fact that they've given a commitment to cover it retrospectively, you'd wonder why there are such delays. Look, we had the protest outside the Department of Health. We've met the Minister, and I would have to say, in fairness to Minister Daly, he has tried to push this on. Any time we've met him, there has been small steps taken forward. So, look, I'd say he's as relieved as anyone that it's at this stage, and hopefully it will continue. But I think it's up to us all. And like they say, all politics is local. And I would urge everyone, all your listeners, to target the politicians, those that are in government, and also those that aren't in government. But anyone that's a TD or a senator or a minister, to lobby them to ensure that it continues to go through the stages and that we see it in legislation sooner rather than later.
Can I ask you, Joe Healy of the IFA, is this another case of farmers getting a special deal, getting special preferential treatment?
Well, it's not, because I think what you read out at the top there highlights the fact that you have to show commitment. We would have been aware that the 6 years that the successor would have to farm for another 6 years, and I think that's to ensure that they're committed to it. Now, they can also hold a part-time job if the farm is small, but that's approximately 50% of their time at a minimum would be put into farming. And I do know that the Attorney General, Seamus Wolfe, has been heavily involved in the drafting of the bill and how it will affect property rights. But I think it's important, and we have no problem with this, that the farm is seen as a productive asset rather than an investment asset. So, if the farm is sold within the 6 years, for example, well then who we represent are the genuine farmers, and that'll be there for the long term. So it's important that it's seen as a productive asset.
The current system sees farm families and business owners are required to set aside 7.5% of the value of their land annually to find a place in a nursing home. Now, under this new plan, this will be capped at 3 years in future. That sounds like a special deal for farmers. That sounds like the lobbying that you have been doing for the past 6 months, in particular behind the scenes on this, and I know this because I've spoken to politicians on this. You have really done very well for your members in lobbying for this. Like, it's only, inverted commas, going to cost 10 million euros to the government, but that's 10 million euros which a lot of people, for example, if you wanted a cath lab in Waterford or a second cath lab, they'd be saying, Janie, God, if they can get this like that, that's a really, really special preferential treatment for farmers.
Well, and I suppose, many of our members has been involved in the lobbying and support for that cath lab in Waterford as well, because the farmer who died on his way to Cork because it wasn't available in Waterford, and that's wrong. The facilities are there, so it should be there, and the IFA would be in agreement with that and with the local IFA members. But, what this allows is, and we've been probably lobbying on this for a lot more than 6 months. This is going back
you
a
have,
number
yes.
of years at this stage. So, and a lot of work has gone into it, but it's to safeguard the family farm, to allow for succession, to put some sort of certainty there, because we would have been aware of a lot of farms where it wasn't being transferred solely on the fear that if anything went wrong, that there would be a ransom over that farm for however many years. At least this allows planning. And if you have to pay 7.5% of the value of your farm over 3 years. Well, it's still a substantial amount of money, but it's not open-ended, and you know that there is an end to it.
Yes.
And I think overall, the average of the nursing home would be even less than the 3 years of stays in the nursing home, something between 2 and 3 years. But in many cases, and just the fear of it and the stress levels associated with it, it was preventing farms from being transferred. And with a current situation where we have less than 6% of the farms of Ireland owned by people over 35 years of age, what we want to try and do, and we make no apologies for it, is to remove any impediments against young people that want to take over the farm from taking it over. And this certainly was an impediment. But I think what's important here, and that's why we say keep it moving and get the legislation, because we have got the commitment. The government has agreed to retrospectively pay it. And what that means is that when it comes in, it will apply to existing nursing home residents as well as new entrants.
I would say to you, Joe, fair play to you on the fair deal. If I was an IFA member, I'd be very happy with the work you've done on this, because to get this through and all the legal ramifications it has, and obviously it's tying in as well with small businesses, like one would ask if one was a fisherman whether this would tie in as well. But I was talking to two farmers in Dunhill and Kilmeaden this morning, and this is something that is very important for them, because they've been worried about this, and it's a thing that has worried your members. As you say, the age profile of farmers is very important, and it's affecting a lot of people's well-being, because they're wondering when they reach a certain age, and this idea of having to go to a nursing home when the farm is still in a productive capacity is very difficult to grapple with.
It is, and look, you've mentioned there about the effect it has on people. It's one of the most stressful effects from the calls that we're getting, and there's a man, he definitely doesn't mind me mentioning his name, Joe Carroll in Offaly, and he has gone very public about it. I actually met him again last night at our meeting for the Brexit Fund in Tullamore, and the man is so stressed. I don't think that anyone involved in inspections or farm penalties in relation to the schemes of that would be as stressed as Joe has been over this, and he's only reflective of a lot of people that just mightn't be as anxious to go public on it. So,
yes,
at least it'll create some sort of structure where farms will continue to transfer without a dark cloud hanging over them.
Joe Healy, President of the IFA, thank you for joining us this morning. Very much appreciate it. I've been listening to Joe Healy talking about the new Fair Deal scheme and what the Cabinet is discussing this morning. We text in from George. Damien, there are people on social media wanting Waterford to lose so they can abuse the player and management. Last year, Derek McGrath got uncalled abuse. It was a disgrace. Thankfully, Derek is intelligent for these peanuts. Again, that's an issue that people have raised during the week consistently over the last month and over the last few years in terms of the hurlers on the ditch. And you'll hear, I'm going to be talking to Brian O'Halloran afterwards about the effort that people put in, that the players put in to the whole system. Also, stay with us because we have a really interesting update from Casey Dunn. You might remember Casey was on this programme looking for an appointment to try and see a doctor regarding her condition. Casey is going to have the very latest on her story next.
It's good to talk. Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. For free advice on your healthcare, talk to your local pharmacist at Mulligan's.
You got that power over me. My, everything I hold dear resides in those eyes.
Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. With 17 stores across the southeast, there's a Mulligan's pharmacy near you.
Welcome back to the show. Remember to keep texting 083 3333 975. Anything that's exercising your mind this morning, or call Audrey on 051 846 123. You can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. David is monitoring the social media there for your messages. Text in the Imrama Festival of What Writing is taking place in Lismore. The Imrama Festival of What Writing? One word beginning with T. Two tickets for Sarah Outen can be won this morning. We're going to be talking to Brian O'Halloran in a second. First, we have Casey Dunn on the line. Good morning, Casey.
Hiya, how are you?
Very good, thanks. Very good. Casey, you are in Johns Park, is that correct?
Yeah.
Tell us, you were on this programme around 6 weeks ago. What was wrong with you? What is wrong with you? What's your ailment?
I have gallstones and my gallbladder started to rot away after I had my baby in September. And I was waiting on an operation in Waterford University Hospital.
And you've been waiting for how long?
9 months now.
And you were on to us because from January, February, March, still no movement whatsoever, still no call, still no appointment, and you looked like you were going to be waiting for a lot longer. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I was waiting, ringing every week, and there was no answer. I wasn't getting letters or anything like that. There was no news.
So we made a few calls on your behalf to the hospital and to the doctor in question, and you got a letter dated yesterday. You got a letter. Tell us about the letter.
Yeah, I got a letter this morning for a pre-op consultation next Tuesday morning with my doctor and a nurse, just to set a date for my surgery.
How do you feel?
Great. I'm delighted.
Can you believe it?
No, I thought I'd be waiting a lot longer, but when I got the letter this morning, it was great. And my birthday as well, so it was like a little birthday present.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
The letter says, I've got a copy of the letter in front of me, that the purpose of the pre-op assessment clinic is to prepare patients for surgery. Your appointment may take between 1.5 and 2 hours. And that's fabulous, isn't it?
Yeah, so hopefully they set a date then and I'll have it soon enough.
And how do you feel about the fact, Casey, that you had to ring this programme and go public about this to get your
I
case?
think it's absolutely ridiculous, because I should have been able to do it myself, or they should have been doing it anyway in the first place. I shouldn't have had to ring or go on your show. I shouldn't have had to do any of that.
I agree.
It's done now.
Like, we should thank the doctor in question and the secretary in question for moving this forward. It may well be a case that they would say we were going to do it anyway, but it seems quite coincidental that after a few calls from ourselves that this appointment has been made, doesn't it?
Yeah, very convenient.
And you're a happy person today on your birthday that you're going to get an appointment.
Yeah, delighted.
Absolutely delighted. Fair play to you. Casey, thank you so much. Let us know how you get on, please. And
I will. Thanks very much for everything.
Not at all. It's a pleasure. That's what we're here for. And the very best of luck to you.
Thank you.
You're listening to Casey Dunn there from Johns Park. She's got an appointment, which is great. And as she says, though, it is ridiculous that phone calls have to be made regarding issues such as this. Again, we don't know if the hospital was going to do it anyway, but it's good news story that she now has an appointment, and we want to wish her the very best of luck and the very best of health into the future. Now, Brian O'Halloran, after 10 years at the top, has bowed out of the inter-county hurling with the Munster and National League honours. I suppose he's called, as Tomás McCarthy says, the speed machine with the white helmet. He could play anywhere from 8 to 15. He's a teacher at Killa National School down in Cork, and he's taking a break from the teaching just during a small break, as they call it, to talk to us now. Good morning, Brian. Good morning, Brian.
Hi, Damien, how are you?
Good. You're joining us from Killa down in Cork at school. You're a teacher down there. How long are you teaching in the primary school down there?
This is my 6th year now, almost done, Damien. I was lucky enough to fall in here straight after college, and I've been happy here since. So yeah, 6 years done. The time doesn't be long going.
So it's not too long a journey in the morning down to the school.
No. It's my house will be very close to the Old Bridge, so it's only literally 10 minutes in the morning. It's a perfect trip, really, in fairness.
You'd know a lot of the Cork lads very well, and obviously a lot of people down around the Clashmore area, Ardmore area, would know Cork very well. Was there much talk now before and after the match last week?
I suppose it wasn't really, I suppose it was a dark enough week for us after the Limerick game, and I suppose like a lot of Waterford people, we were just trying to keep the head down and nearly avoid Cork people if possible. But no, I think a lot of Cork people kind of knew we were in a bad place, and they they had a good bit of respect for us, around killing things like that, and most people were, sound enough about the situation, to be fair.
Yeah, because there has been a couple of drubbings by Cork over the years in the dark days in the past, and people still talk about those in folklore, because that Cork-Waterford rivalry has been one of the great rivalries, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. When I was younger and I first started watching Waterford, the team of the noughties, Cork-Waterford was the game. And even when I started playing the last years, it's been kind of ebb and flow and nip and tuck in all the games. So yeah, it looks, I suppose, for me, it is the great rivalry, and it has been a very healthy rivalry the last years, definitely. What
has been the highlight of your 10 years? Would you say the All-Ireland final?
Yeah, I'd say I would. Like, it's a weird one to say that, look, a day you lost the biggest match you can play in is a standout day, but like, you have to kind of take it for what it is as well. Like, getting to the game itself, playing at that level and playing in an All-Ireland final is a dream. And as I said, it was a nightmare to lose it, and you were down for a long, long time after. But I suppose on reflection, yeah, look, to partake in the All-Ireland final, it's something you can look back on in years to come and say you did.
Would there be anything you would have done differently, or would you advise anybody within the team or management regarding that day? Is there any things that could have made you win that match, do you think?
I don't think so, really. I suppose, like, with everything, hindsight is a brilliant thing, but I do think, a lot of things went okay for us that day, considering it's such a high-pressure environment. I think Galway had very, very few eyes that day, and a lot seemed to go right for them. I wouldn't say we were unlucky to lose, but to me, it was a 50-50 game. We didn't make too many mistakes. The lads on the line were very cute tactically, and everyone on the pitch, I think, played up to a very good level. So look, that's all you can hope for in an Ireland final. And as I said, it didn't go our way that day, but no regrets. Look, that day, it's a very disappointing day, but it's not like it's going to eat me up that we should have done this and should have done that. No, I have no regrets in that regard.
Yeah. 3 managers. Davy Fitz, tell us, what was Davy Fitz like? What is Davy Fitz like as a manager?
He's a brilliant coach. He's a brilliant motivator. He's very intense on the training field. He'll always have you, going at 100% and things like that. And he's a totally different person than away from hurling. He's a very nice fella to have a good chat with and things like that. I was young at the time, and I used to come down from Limerick with him the odd time, and he was a very nice man to engage in conversation with. And as I said, then a different man once he hit the hurling field. And I think the man you see on television is that man on the hurling field. Did you ever get the hairdryer treatment from him? I think anyone involved in these panels would have, if he felt that you weren't pulling it in or making a contribution, you'd get a quick tongue lashing. But look, that's the way he is, and I suppose you have to accept that as well. And he does get a lot from his players, so look, I would have gotten 1 or 2 down my time, but maybe I was luckier than some.
And then Derek McGrath, tell us, how would you define Derek McGrath as a manager?
He's brilliant. I suppose one of Derek's best traits is he's mainly, his emotional intelligence as regards, I know a lot is made of how much the player is willing to do for him, but Derek puts a lot into that, and he really kind of looked after us outside of the hurling sphere as well, as regards thinking about our careers and our jobs and things like that, and always trying to kind of more focus on our lives outside of hurling as well. So I think that's a big thing Derek focuses on, and it seems to work as regards players paying it back and things like that. And look, obviously you can hear from the Sunday game and stuff, I think people are getting to realise how shrewd tactically and things like that. And like, I know a lot of people would criticise us as having a negative team under Derek, but I think in fairness, if you look at our scoring records, and I was a forward on that team, and I never felt that I was out there running around being a negative hurler. I was on a negative team, to be honest. I just felt that we were all doing what we could to try and make Waterford win, and we didn't really mind what way people called us, as long as we were doing our best. And a lot of the time under Derek we were doing quite well, so we didn't mind at all, to be honest.
This idea of a manager, I suppose, being all inclusive with the players on the field, off the field, how important is that? Like, some people may criticise Derek, saying that he was too close to the players. It's not a thing I've overly thought about. As I said, personally I got on very well with Derek, and he got the best out of me from a hurling point of view. And other people then, you'll have the other view that says, oh, why is the manager pandering to players' needs, and the manager needs to manage and players should just play. But
I don't know, like, you're dealing with a lot of different personalities, and, you know, we had a very young panel at times. And look, if you know a manager is going to go that extra mile for you, like Derek did, you know, it does help, and I can't really explain why, but it just does.
I know Porrick's been only there less than a year. How would you classify or define Porrick?
He's a very, very proud Waterford man. His passion is up there with anyone I've ever seen for Waterford. He would bleed Waterford for you. I feel very sorry for him as regards how the years went. It just has went bad. I have no reason to blame him or anyone. You know, in the next few weeks and months, I might even think more about where it went wrong. But you know, it's still very raw at the moment, and I'm sure Porrick said at the other day he can't put his finger on it where it went wrong, and I'd be in a similar thing to that. I have no answers for why it went so bad this year, but it just did. And as I said, as a proud Waterford man who's hurting, I just feel sorry for him, to be honest.
And is it difficult, Brian, to hear of criticisms where people say they're alleging the players didn't try their best?
Look, I suppose Waterford people in general would be hurting as well after them defeats. But if there is one thing that would sting, it's that accusation not trying. I think unless you be on that field and you're getting beaten by 10, 12 points, you don't know what it feels like, kind of, and it maybe look to the naked eye like players aren't trying, but like psychologically your head just can be gone in them situations, and that affects players in different ways. Like, some lads can just get stuck to the ground, some lads' confidence just goes to the floor, and they don't want the ball because they're afraid they make mistakes and make things worse. And that can all affect and manifest itself in different ways. And look, it's an easy thing to say, oh, he's not trying, he didn't run there, he's not trying, his head is down. But I think unless you've been there psychologically, it's a tough accusation to throw at someone who's training since last October, and in a lot of cases lads are driving from Dublin and Cork to just turn around and say, oh, they're not trying, they don't care about Waterford.
Very good point. In terms of structures, coaching, what the county board needs to do, if you were to look at a 5-year plan for Waterford hurling now, or even a 10-year plan, and the county board, if Paddy Joe Ryan came to you and saying, Brian, you're an intelligent young man, you're not leaving for any other reason apart from personal reasons, you're only 28, what would you advise us to do over the next 5 to 10 years? What would you say to them?
I'd have a look at what the very successful J counties are doing. I'd have a look at what Dublin footballers did 10 years ago. Obviously we wouldn't have anything near their resources, nor will we ever have, but if we look at the counties that, you know, got their underage structure nailed on, that led into brilliant senior teams, if we could not copy them but see what worked and see what would work in Waterford. I think Wexford in the last few years have put an awful lot of coaches into schools and things like that, and they seem to have a very detailed hurling plan and things like that. And as I said, I don't know too much about the ins and outs of it, but I would be looking at other counties that have had success and just seeing what they've done with structures, and is it feasible for us, considering that, you know, we're not as big as county as some, and we haven't as much resources as others. But, you know, I think we could put plans in place, and I think hopefully there's progressive people there that will have a look at things like that.
Brick Walsh, your favourite player over the years?
Yeah, just what he got out of himself. I think, you know, it's rare a player will ever get the most out of themselves as the way Brick did on the training field, but then to bring it to the match day is just an innate will to win, and an innate will never to bow to defeat, and just to drag lads at times with him. It was, I don't think Waterford would have been half as good down through the years without Brick, to be honest. He was dragging teams to places where they wouldn't have been otherwise.
And great support, Brian, and from your family and loads of people within the Clashmore Kinsale parish. You've enjoyed it. What's it been like? Like, to be a county footballer or hurler is a great achievement. It's a hard thing to do, and to stay on the panel and to be there. How do you feel now, looking back?
I'm glad I did it. I've no regrets that I did it for so long. I won't say I enjoyed every single minute of it. I loved it in a way, but there's an awful lot of dark days that go with the good days. I think people are aware of the sacrifice. We don't want to be made martyrs for that either. But like it is tough to do your 2-hour round trip 3 nights a week from November on. The travelling aspect of it is often overlooked, and you hear some of the criticisms last week that supporters are giving out, having to drive an hour to watch just play and things like that. But like there's we've 5 or 6 lads coming from Dublin 3 and 4 nights a week down through the year and things like that. I just think if people think about that for a while, maybe it does give them a sense of what goes into it. But yeah, no, as I said, I don't regret anything. There's plenty of bad days to go to good days, but I wouldn't change anything. And as you said, I was happy to kind of represent my club and my family while I was doing it.
Brian, it's a pleasure talking to you again, and the very, very best of luck with the future, with work, with life, with love, and with the championship this season.
Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to mulliganspharmacy.com. Mulligans, we are closer to you.
You can make it soul, make it real, make it rock, make it blues, make it bounce, make it hip hop.
Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligans. With 17 stores across the southeast, there's a Mulligans pharmacy near you.
Now, thanks for your text. Brian O'Halloran gave an excellent display in the Munster Minor Hurling Final win in 2009, said this texter. Damien, you've got to mention Michael Ryan. He played under Michael Ryan. He did, absolutely. Damien, regarding the girls' operation, I hope this lady's operation is not cancelled as my sister's was last week after waiting 2 years for cataract, only to find out her pre-op was cancelled due to staff shortages. This girl is 35 years old. A reminder that our county ladies, both football and camogie, put in a great effort as their male counterparts, and we're talking too much about the men. What about the women? Our ladies footballers won a National League title this year. Maybe it's talk up the successes instead of the weaknesses in Waterford. Another texter, well done to Brian O'Halloran. Great interview, to the point, lovely, genuine guy. Now, do any of you know this programme?
I'm Mike Wolf.
And I'm Frank Fretz.
And we're Pickers.
We travel the back roads of America looking for rusty gold. We're looking for amazing things buried in people's garages and barns. We'll buy anything we think we can make a buck on.
We make a living telling the history of America, one piece at a time.
Now, it's one of the most popular programmes in the world when it comes to antiques, and we have one of the most successful and well-known antique dealers in Ireland in studio, Roddy Keary, because American Pickers is the name of that programme, and American Pickers is filming in Waterford. Good morning, Roddy.
Good morning, Damien.
How are you?
Good, thank you. Very good this morning.
Tell us about the exciting news that's happening this week.
This week we have the Irish production of American Pickers coming to the auction rooms, and which is exciting for Waterford and for ourselves, the auction rooms.
What is the programme? Tell us about the programme.
The programme is where you get a member to buy something of Waterford interest, and historically maybe of interest in Waterford or outside. We have some items that would be. The crew are Irish, the presenters are Irish, but it's going to be put out in England and America, so it's a big event.
That is really good publicity.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled. Now, we have been on programmes before, which have been fantastic as well, but this seems to be hitting the highlights because it's a very popular programme. Not that I'm that much into it, because, as you know, when you're involved in it every day, you're inclined to pass it at night, but it's of big interest to people.
So not only in terms of the crew being here doing the filming and stuff like that, you've got the knock-on effect, and this may well be very good advertising for Waterford.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you can be on the trail of an antique show, as they are, they have done the north, they were telling me. They've been down south for a week, and we're part of it. So that to me is big. And we're not a big nation as regard collectors in Ireland, but we can get there for the amount of population that we have. So, I mean, we sell on the internet, and it has been growing and growing the whole time. So from that perspective, hopefully it'll carry on.
How long are you in business?
I started with my late father. I'm going into my 48th year, believe it or not. Wow. Which is a bit of a milestone. Started in Kilmacthomas, and we had a general business there. My father started the antique business. He moved to town into Waterford in 1964. opened the shop in 1969, and I started the auctions in 1997 in Waterford, but we were doing a few of them in Kilmac always, you know.
Are you still enjoying it?
I'm enjoying it, but getting tired, of course, is age-related, I would say. But I do enjoy it, I have to say. And there's a reward at the end of it if you sell something for somebody and they do well. Of course, it doesn't win the whole time. But no, I do. I knock a bit of...
Do you still get the buzz?
Oh, I get the buzz. There's no question. Yeah, I get the buzz.
Where does that buzz come? Is it during the sale?
It's first and foremost to see your audience, and you have to get up there and perform for 6 to 8 hours non-stop. And that in itself, to do well for somebody is the whole thing, and to get a recognition at the end of it. But it's difficult work. I mean, people just think they arrive into the auction, there's 700 lots, and he gets up there and he's selling away. It's not like that. There's a lot of preparation.
Absolutely.
A lot of preparation.
We're doing a lot this week on retailing in Waterford City, County and the South East, and the future of retailing. What's your view at the minute about how things are?
Well, we would be sort of a destination shop.
Yes.
We don't have what we call walk-in off the streets. We would be specifically targeted by somebody who comes for something. Not like a retail dress shop or a clothes shop where they come in and lift and pull and drag and, you know, and walk out without anything. Most people come in and say, may we have a look around? And then I don't see such and such an item, and then you show them where they have missed or whatever, and they do their business and they're gone. We don't have a lot of... the input of people has gone down, because now that we have a website, they can press a button at night, which is sort of sad. There's a lot to be said. I'm a doubting Thomas. I love to go in and feel it and see it and that, but it's the modern way of doing things. People are too busy.
And if it's still getting income into your business, then that's the way.
Absolutely, it has been growing. The graph is going up the whole time on our sales through the internet. And
tell us about issues such as rates.
Oh my goodness, that's a little sore point with me. And now that I'm off the drink at the moment, I can keep quiet about it as such. Our rates went up by 15,000, not up to. Up by 15,000.
And do you mind me asking from what to what?
From 14.5 to 29.5.
In the last
4 years. That to me is horrendous.
Have you been given a reason?
The reason is we improved our premises, and that was by putting in a window, which improves the street shopping side of it, and also improves your business. But I mean, we had to do it because our business was going down to Swanee. But I think they have it wrong. If you're going to increase rates, you do it over a number of years. You're hit together with a big lump sum, and it's very difficult to get out of that. I mean, we had a restaurant down William Street, Shea K's. They closed recently due to rates. Anybody that's opening a business, never think of the rates until they have the business done with the landlord, and the rent is manageable, but when the rates come in, they're sunk. And the problem I see too is we're not getting a lot from the rates. One time you got the rubbish collected, you got the sewerage looked after, and you got the water looked after. They are 3 extras on the rates at the moment for a retailer. So
I know you'd have to pay Irish Water, obviously, as you say, money on that. Sewerage?
Sewerage, yeah. If you have a problem with the sewerage coming out their sewerage pipes, you have to pay for that.
Yes.
Also the rubbish, that's a big concern at the moment. The rubbish collection is expensive, particularly shop. You have a lot of packaging now.
And were you able to query the increase in the rates?
I went to the appeals board in Dublin, and typically countryman, I was left sitting, and more or less that's it. There was no sort of response to it at all. And I had a gentleman working for me, and he pleaded the case, but just that's it. There was no climb down.
So you just have to get on with it.
Get on with it, yeah. Which is it's a fierce slice of money. You know, and I feel for anybody starting in business today, look at the expenses behind it, and I'll tell you, you will be lucky to scratch a living.
The council would say that obviously there has to be a certain amount of rates.
Absolutely, we're not disagreeing with that.
And they will negotiate at certain levels because it's for the betterment of the city and the county.
I will not disagree with that, but the last roundup of the rates, which I was involved in, they said there were winners and losers. But our street is not a pedestrian street. Parking is a major problem. And when we have an auction, we have people collecting the day after. For 2 days they have collections, and I'm very strict on that. And the traffic warden gives us a hell of a lot of bad time. And it's just not easy to do business. So, they need to look at a lot of things, but they also need to speak to the people that are in the shops, that are running businesses. They're not listening to those, and that's where I see the problem.
Why aren't they listening, do you think?
They just have this budget in their head that we have to collect so much, and that's the end of it. There's no... like, I see a little shop there now, I pass it every morning, in Michael Street. A Centra, I think it is. And this big 40-foot has to come every morning with supplies, and he has nowhere to park. And the other morning, I held up the traffic for him to get him some way parked. And I felt so sorry for him, because we have a truck on the road, and we know what it's like, but he's a 40-foot.
So the new council is in there now, and it's an amalgam of different parties. What's your central message to them?
Well, my central message to them is to come, if somebody has a gripe with the council, that they would go to the representative, speak to him, look at the situation, go to the council, see what they have to say, and then if there's a major dispute, the council have to come and speak to the person concerned. But I do see a major problem with Waterford. We need people to come in. You go to any of the other small towns. I was in Kilkenny recently on a Monday morning. Everybody had tables and chairs outside their shops and restaurants that they could serve coffee, and the atmosphere was fantastic. I would never be in Kilkenny on a Monday morning. I was there on business. But that's where I think we just need more. I also think the traffic should be flowing down Barronstrand Street. You could be dead for a night and they wouldn't be found until the morning with no atmosphere in the centre of that town. And I think that's very sad. We need people in the centre. We need people walking and able to get to their businesses and do business. Also, it's another major factor. We have a very good parking facility in Bow Street car park. But you get your ticket and you have it for 2 hours or 1 hour. But you're doing business, and the next thing, and I've often found that I've lost business because the person, I have to go because the ticket is up. And I've said to the council, get a barrier and charge for the amount of time that the person is parked. And then I've lost a lot of business on account of it. But these are things, I'm maybe getting old and my temperance is gone.
You'll stay for at least another 2 years in business. You'll make it to 50 years.
I'll make it to 50 years with the help of God. And then I'll draw a line.
And then see what happens.
I will. I'll draw a line on it then. I think enough is enough.
Good luck this week. Good luck with the filming.
Thank you very much, Damien.
Thanks, Roddy. The very best of luck with that. Special mention to Roddy from his old school pal Richie, and also a big thanks to Brian O'Halloran for everything he gave for this county. Memories will last a lifetime. Up to Déise, and that is from Dan. We'll have more of your texts and comments, and we have a really exciting announcement about a big conference that's coming to Waterford.
Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. Blue Club rewards from mulliganspharmacy.com. Spend a little to earn a lot.
Every time I think I'm falling, I know you're falling too. There's no doubt you're rolling.
Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. With 17 stores across the southeast, there's a Mulligan's pharmacy near you.
Now we are joined by Elaine Fennelly and Larry Breen. Good morning, folks.
Good morning.
Damien.
One little text before we go to you, Damien, just there on Brian O'Halloran. He spoke so well on the past and present in the hurling situation. I actually think he should be brought on board as part of the management team, maybe a selector. He seems to have good hurling insight. He spoke very well in the interview, knowing his family. They're genuine GA people, and that from a person in Stradbally. It's been a big week for the out hurling and the sports and all that sort of stuff, hasn't it, folks? But it's going to be a massive week shortly for recruitment and for tech. Elaine Fennelly, tell us all about this. You're from Crystal Valley Tech. Larry, yourself, co-founders of Crystal Valley Tech, a massive recruitment event on. Tell us about it. This is great news.
It is great, Damien. So on July 20th, which is the 50-year moon landing celebration, we're going to have 1,500 developers and tech people coming down from Dublin on the train and from London to check out all the tech firms and see if there's a job they like, and they're going to move here and take them. So it's a real opportunity for companies to help fill those vacancies that they might have.
Larry, why Waterford and why now?
So Crystal Valley, we've been around since 2017. The ICT, so the tech community within the Southeast, has grown phenomenally over the last number of years. As a presence in the Southeast, we want to see that continue to grow. Obviously, making sure we got the right resources and talent in the region is important. Historically, we've had a lot of that talent leave the region and head off to other parts of the world, parts of the country, not understanding that Waterford was open for business. Obviously, it's now here available. There's a ton of jobs available for people to actually come back to. And we want to encourage people to come back and enjoy lifestyle in the Southeast, more so than being stuck in a Dublin or a London type environment.
And we will podcast this interview later to get it out there even more. You're working very closely with Career Zoo. They have a great track record in recruitment events. Is that right, Elaine?
That's right, yeah. Career Zoo have worked for 20 years with the IDA and EI to fill all various jobs. A lot of their events would have been in the Mansion House in Dublin. So last year they took a bunch of developers on a train to Sligo, where in an art gallery they met Sligo companies, and many of them relocated. So we're hoping the exact same will happen, only on a bigger scale, in Waterford in the Southeast on July 20th.
Larry, what really impresses me about Crystal Valley Tech is, and this growth, you haven't gone in with this big idea of this is where we want to be. You've been very practical, like good tech people are, and say this is where we're at now.
Yes.
And it's this firm footing in reality which has been the secret of your success so far and the potential for growth.
So before Crystal Valley Tech happened, there were a lot of organisations, a lot of people getting together over coffees and tech meetups and having these conversations. None of them really came to fruition. They had these grandiose ideas, ignore the practicalities of it. When we actually pulled Crystal Valley together, we got some industry players, so people who've been around the block, have worked in different industries internationally as well as locally, and pull them together and set ourselves realistic objectives and goals moving forwards. We were super surprised at how fast we exceeded the 100 members. We thought it would take a long time. Within the first 6 months, we were above 100 members, so 100 companies within the Southeast supporting the Crystal Valley mission and mantra. And that's continued to grow with event after event. Steady pace moving forwards. The Southeast is really ready for business. I think everybody in the region understands it. Everybody in industry understands it. And again, with announcements like we had a couple of weeks ago from ASG, another foreign direct investor coming into the region, it just shows that we're open for business and people are happy to sort of build that momentum and continue to push forwards.
Texts are in about previous items. Damien, people keep moaning sometimes about businesses in Waterford but do nothing to make things better. Here is a perfect example of your making things better, Elaine. It's fabulous. I have covered this story for quite a while over the last few years when you've been working there. And it's the entire Southeast. So if somebody hears we've got 40 or 50 jobs going to Kilkenny and they're living in Waterford, they shouldn't feel bad about it, should they?
Absolutely not. We are a Southeast body, so the Southeast is so opened up now with the road network and everyone drives these days, so it's easy to get to those jobs. So it's no restrictions. So we never think of ourselves as Waterford. We think of ourselves as all the counties in the Southeast.
And what that means is if a little cluster develops in Kilkenny, it could have an offshoot in Waterford. The same thing, Waterford and Wexford. So it's that practical thing of developing the Southeast.
It certainly is. I mean, if you look at Glanbia, they've got several hundred IT people working there. A lot of people commute from Waterford, from Dungarvan. So we just look at it as a region. If we start thinking of ourselves as just the city, we're too small. I was only at a council event last week and Michael Quinn said outside of Dublin, the Southeast is the biggest economic region in Ireland.
Wow. How does that make you feel, Larry?
Super encouraging. It reflects what we see. So I brought a foreign direct investment company to Waterford 3.5, 4 years ago. we got embraced by the community straight away. The reason we did it is because I'm a Waterford chap, born and bred. I wanted the business to be here. Didn't think there was going to be many ICT companies and fellow businesses down here. Got in conversations with the likes of Willie Donnelly and the guys out at WIT, and suddenly realised there's so many businesses here that people aren't aware of. It's just phenomenal.
We are going to do a lot more in the summer on yourselves. We are talking about this event on July the 12th.
20th, July 20th.
July 20th. And where is it on?
So it's on in the Medieval Museum and the Council Big Room, so down in the Council offices opposite the Tower Hotel on the Mall. So anyone listening today who's got son, daughter, brother, sister abroad, who's got a tech qualification, let them know about South by Southeast.
We will follow this up. We'll have more details on our website. In the week leading up to this event, we're going to do a lot more on this. We're going to go down to Boxworks, do some of the companies that we've been talking about, because it is a really, really positive story. Thanks very much for coming in this morning, Larry. Thank you very much, Elaine. Keep up the great work.
Thanks, Damien.
Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. With 17 stores across the southeast, there's a Mulligan's pharmacy near you.
Now, welcome back to the programme. I'm going to be joined in a second now by Breda Brennan, our new Metropolitan Mayor. Firstly, a couple of brief texts. Damien, the South East, seriously, at every turn, Kilkenny and Wexford have attempted to undermine Waterford. Another retrograde step. And to that texter, I would say you are completely and utterly wrong. If there are jobs for the South East, and if there's jobs in Kilkenny, if somebody's living in Waterford and they have to go to Kilkenny to work and come back with their money and their wages and spend it in Waterford, that's brilliant. Isn't it better than the jobs being in Dublin or in Galway or in Botswana? So I think you're wrong in there. I've been 25 years covering stories down here where there's been report after report of the South East developing the South East. They haven't come to fruition because they've been reports concocted in air, not in reality. If you get the jobs in Waterford, even better if you're living in Waterford. But Labour does follow capital. So wherever those jobs have to go, people will go. And if you can develop the South East in any form whatsoever, there will be spin-offs. And by the very nature of tech business, that is the nature of that as well. You get this clusters developing. So it's different, totally different from previous type of companies where you'd have heavy manufacturing. Breda, good morning.
Good morning, Damien.
What do you think of that and the idea of creating jobs in the South East? If somebody says, let's get jobs for Waterford, if there are a few jobs in Clonmel or Kilkenny or in Wexford, there could be some sort of a general drive up of employment.
Well, Damien, as you said, it doesn't matter really where the jobs are created. People will travel for work. I spent 10 years on the weekend shift in Bosch and Lom, and people travelled from all over.
And you had that, you had that continuing Joe Kilkenny people coming down and taking the jobs and then going back across the river. But
but sure, it's the same thing. You know, the Waterford people get joked about going to Kilkenny for jobs. So it's just where work is, people will go.
Yes. Now, you are the new Metropolitan Mayor. You're a Sinn Féin councillor. Congratulations on your re-election, and congratulations on becoming the Metropolitan Mayor. As far as we understand, there were female mayors before, but this is the first female Metropolitan Mayor. Is that correct?
The first Sinn Féin Metropolitan Mayor, as far as I know.
Yes.
No, I'm not sure whether I'm the first female Metropolitan Mayor, but I'm definitely the first Sinn Féin Metropolitan Mayor.
Well, congratulations. And how do you feel?
Of course, Marcus. A bit surreal this morning, actually. I've just been catching up on emails and phone calls and everything, and there's no way I could catch up with the and reply to everybody who sent me good wishes, because there was just too many. It would take me probably a fortnight. So I'm bowled over by that, and I'd like to thank everyone publicly who sent me a message of congratulations and best wishes. I'm just overwhelmed.
And people are trying to photobomb you the way Shane Ross does. I see Matt Keane trying to photobomb you as well there, huh?
Yeah, that's the picture that was taken last summer at a book launch, myself and Matt. Matt's a bit of a hero of mine, you see. And also, obviously...
At least he's somebody's hero. That's all I'd say.
You can't beat live football, Damien.
You can't. A lady asks if Breda got your job because of the promises and all the work you've done in antisocial behaviour. Are you going to continue that work? Are you going to resolve the problems with antisocial behaviour? Asked this texter.
I am going to do my very best to resolve those problems. We went through our own spate of severe antisocial problems out here in St. Herbland Park in 2006, 2007, and we had to work with a lot of different agencies to rectify the situation. But it is possible, but again, it takes absolute commitment from different agencies to sort out the problem. Nobody or no one agency can do it by themselves.
We heard earlier from Rhodey Keary, auctioneer, regarding rates. Have you anything to say to businesses in Waterford regarding the next 5 years in terms of how the council does their business for businesses?
Well, obviously, we'll have to do our budget, and I'm sure it will be discussed. I mean, if there was a way of reducing the rates through another source of income, I would be in favour of that, because I do feel sorry for any small business that's thinking about starting up even. Rates is probably one of their bigger bills, if you like. So it's something that will be discussed, and, you know, I would be in favour, personally, of reducing the rate, but we have to see how the figures stack up.
Others are texting in to say it'll be interesting to see how Sinn Féin and the different amalgam of parties actually take the plate and step up to the plate. Is this the start of a new Sinn Féin? Interesting times ahead, asks Richard.
Well, Sinn Féin, along with Labour, the Greens and the Independents, you know, the root of everything is us working together for the betterment of Waterford and the people of Waterford. So it doesn't matter which party you're working for, that is your aim. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael were invited to join us, and we could all work together, but they declined. That was their choice. I don't know their reasons. You'd have to ask them what their reasons were. But we were very inclusive in Sinn Féin, and everybody was invited around the table to talk and see what we could do.
And we will hold you to account on that as the times develop. Breda Branning, congratulations and the very best of luck to you. And on behalf of the listeners that are texting in to say well done and the best of luck to you, all the very best.
Gord Mila Margaret.
Fáilte Oath. You're listening to Breda Brennan there, who was elected Sinn Féin councillor and became Waterford's new Metropolitan Mayor last night. Coming up, Magdalen Laundries. Do you remember them?
It's a whole new conversation. Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
With thanks to Mulligan's Pharmacy. Over 60 years together. Thanks to you.
Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. With 17 stores across the southeast, there's a Mulligan's Pharmacy near you.
Welcome back to the programme. Keep your texts and WhatsApps coming in. 083 3333 975. You can call Audrey on 051 846 123. Your final chance to call in if you want regarding the festival of what type of writing is taking place down in Lismore. You can win 2 tickets to see Sarah Outen. Also make sure that you take part if you're looking to take part in the Waterford Viking Marathon, and everybody involved with WLR. We're going to be talking about that in a few minutes. Got a lovely text in there from Derek, Sarah, Fionn and Odrin McGrath. Just want to wish Brian O'Halloran, Orla and his family all the very best. An absolute gem of a young man and the very definition of what a team player should encapsulate. He has all the skills that are transferable to coaching and management. That from Derek, Sarah and Fionn and Odrin McGrath. Now, I'll read out a few more texts in a minute. Firstly, Magdalen Laundries, institutions that people would have in their past, their ideas of what they'd have about them and how they have changed. One place which has changed dramatically is the Holy Ghost Residential Home. It's on the Cork Road behind what's would have been known as Fitzpatrick's Restaurant. Those in the centre look after people such as Jerry Cullen, former member of the famous Royal Show Band, and now relies on fundraising, like most community projects, to survive. Now, they're organising a big fundraiser next month. I went along to talk to some of the people about what's going on, the history, the residents. So the voices you're going to hear, they begin with Bridget Roach, the manager of the Holy Ghost Residential Centre, who showed me around, with Vivian Wallace, the Friends of the Holy Ghost, to do a lot of fundraising. Jane Cahill, who spoke to me on behalf of the Haven Hotel. And you'll also hear from Jerry Cullen himself, the great Jerry Cullen, and his friend Tony Comerford. Tony was visiting the centre and helping organise this fundraising event in July, and Hilary Quinlan, one of the former trustees of the centre. So we'll start with Bridget and Vivian.
Tony, this is Vivian, who was just in with me. Vivian is on the Friends as well, with the fundraising committee first. Do you want to have a little look around first?
Who am I walking with?
I'm Bridget. I'm the nurse manager here in the Holy Ghost Home.
I'm Vivian. I'm the secretary of the Friends of the Holy Ghost.
Where are we at the minute?
This part of the building was built in the 70s. The other side of the building was built in the 80s. So what we're doing is a refurbishment project at the moment that we are... The side that was built in the 80s, we're adding en suites to the rooms, and this side we're building rooms into each other because there was no room to break out. So at the end of this project, the 60 residents who live here will all have their own en suite. So our total capacity normally is 60. At the moment we have 47. However, in another few months, when the whole project is finished, we'll be back up to a capacity of 60.
It's a lovely place.
It's a fabulous place. Anyone would love to be here. Yeah. Everybody who's come and seen all the new en-suites, they're all saying they're going to book a room for here. It's just a fabulous place.
They now have a toilet, and they have their own walk-in shower, their own toilet, and their own wash hand basin.
And this costs a lot of money to do up.
It did.
How are you paying for it all?
Well, we do normally to run the home. We do get a grant from the HSE every year. It's Section 39. We could do with more. So we're very dependent on the friends who fundraise for us. However, the HSE did help us with the building project as well. The Board of Trustees, who are a voluntary board, of whom Hilary is the master, they put up some of the money, and the HSE gave us money towards it as well.
So is there any religious involvement still in the place?
No, the nuns have left. The St. John of God nuns were amazing, and they were here for over 108 years, and they were fantastic in the care they gave. And 10 years ago...
they ran a laundry as well, though. People would remember the laundry,
yes.
People mightn't have good memories of that as well in the past.
Exactly, but the nuns that were here, I mean, you hear nothing but positive feedback from any of the residents that were here at the time. And even for me coming in, I took over from the nuns at that time, and it was just a pleasure to come in, and they were so good to me.
So who owns the buildings or the premises, the land?
It's owned by the Holy Ghost Board of Trustees.
How, in terms of the Friends and the amount of work that's done, how big a job is it every year?
The fundraising is the biggest part, and the very pleasurable part is spending the money to refurbish the place. There's this new part that has been done up. I've put in new furniture, a lovely seating area for the residents to sit and relax, a little bit of a sunroom. We've kindly been donated photographs, big wall photographs and that. So that's the really pleasurable part, is spending the money and deciding how we can enhance the residents' quality of life here.
Tell us about this room here.
This is another room done in a different style, because the room would have ended here when it was originally, and then this part was built on and the ensuite put in. All the monies that are raised go directly to the Residents' Comfort Fund. So we are so grateful to the people of Waterford, because they've supported all our fundraising activities, and through that we've been able to enhance the quality of life here and enhance the building itself. This is Anne-Marie, one of our carers.
Hi, Anne-Marie.
Hello, David. Nice to meet you.
This is all donated by the Friends. The Friends purchased all this for us and all this furniture for us.
These are paintings, furniture,
exactly, the artwork, and they're local scenes like Waterford Castle, the Reginald's Tower, Dunmore, places that people will be familiar with. And this area down here was furnished by them as well. Also, they're very good for residents' outings, trips, to pay for people to go places. And if somebody was in need, the Friends always, it's the money out of the Comfort Fund that boosts that for us, even just a day trip for them to go out.
Do you find it difficult to fundraise, or is there a very strong sense of goodwill?
I think there's a very strong sense of goodwill, all right. We recently had a concert up in St. Paul's, hosted by Dordogne. That was a great turnout, absolutely fantastic. I think if anyone missed it, if we were doing it again, please come along. It was amazing. But people, it's funny, people don't really know about the Holy Ghost, but once you tell them what it's about and what we do here, they're very, very generous with their money. so it's great.
And we're going to be talking to Jerry now in a second.
Yeah, one of our lovely residents here, and who's very proactive in trying to fundraise for us. His own background, of course, in music, but to know that all the money is coming back into their own residents here in Waterford. We facilitate the Waterford Community Care catchment area here. So most of our referrals will come from the HSC. Majority of our staff we have nursing staff at night and in the day. I'm a nurse myself, so I'm here all day. And then I have a nurse who works some of the hours as well. We have caring staff, household staff and catering staff. And they all try to bring the best they can to the residents' quality of life. All our social activities are people who are so good and volunteer to come in here. They may have had somebody in here before, or they've heard of the place through the fundraising, and they come and offer their services. So we have an artist here who comes once a week. We have a lady, Anne Scanlon, who comes twice a week to do the bingo, but she does a lot more than that. We have Olive, who comes here every week to sing. We have Patsy and Michael, who come once a month to sing. We have Bim Connors, who comes to sing. So we have a lot of people who come in and we've exercise groups, Pilates, to keep people active.
Just give me the strength to do every day what I have to do. Yesterday's gone, sweet Jesus, and tomorrow may never be mine. Lord, help me today, show me the way, one day at a time.
Jane, why have you got involved in this?
Well, Jerry's very much been part of the Haven for, about 50 years. He was very good friends with the late John Kelly, and that sort of friendship has transferred down a generation to Paul, his son. So when Jerry was living alone, he became very ill and ended up in Ardkeen. Always had a fear of coming somewhere like this, but when he actually got the chance to come, he can't believe how fantastic it is. And basically, he admits he wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for the care he's had here.
So, Jerry, how are you feeling? You're looking well.
Yeah, I feel great, Damien. Yeah, since I came here.
How long are you here?
Year and a half.
How's it been?
It's been a revelation, really, because when I was in hospital sick with a heart problem, and I was coming here, I had different visions of the place. I thought I'd be going up and down the corridor with a rosary piece following a nun, and that was the end of my life. But it was a revelation, you can come and go, do what you like. All our meals are taken care of, medication is taken care of, and it's just a lovely atmosphere.
Tony, it's your first time being up here, sort of having a look around. I know you've got involved only recently in the sense of, what was your first impressions of it?
Once I saw it now, it's a totally different place from what I remember years ago. It was a bit like, as Jerry explained, it was run by the nuns at that time, so it was a very formal kind of atmosphere and that, but it's a completely different place today. There seems to be a lovely camaraderie between the residents here and a very happy outlook.
Because a lot of people in Waterford would have this old image of the Holy Ghost.
Right. Yeah, I remember it as a kid. Yeah, I do. I remember.
And what do you remember people saying about it as a kid? Oh, you'll be sent off to the...
That's right. Yeah, it was a laundry that the nuns ran there. I remember on a Saturday afternoon they'd come down Bunkers Hill, about 30 or 40, one nun in front, another nun behind, and bring them into town to show the people of Waterford. I won't go into it.
But these were the women. These were the women that, for different reasons, would have been in the Holy Ghost, right. And the state, in all its wisdom, would have allowed the religious orders to, inverted commas, take care of them.
That's right. Yeah.
But what used you think when you'd see them walking down?
Well, as a kid, as you said, if you misbehave, you'll go to the Holy Ghost laundry, whatever they called it. What did they call it? It was an institution as such, and I thought that's what I was going into.
When did you start playing music?
Do you want me to give the actual year?
The real year now, no cotton now.
Early 50s.
How old were you? Only a young lad, a chap?
Yeah, I was still going to school, and there was a music teacher in Ferrybank, and she taught me the piano. Started off as a kind of a small dance band, as they call them, and we used to play in the tennis clubs and things like that. Then we started to play in the Olympia, and then we took in Brenda Barr as a trombone player, not as a singer. So I was in the band before him, and we used to copy the Clipper Carlton. They were the original, and it became hugely successful. And we were playing in England during the Lent, and we played with Joe Loss and his orchestra in Hammersmith Pally. We made about 4 or 5 albums.
You must have felt on top of the world.
Oh, we did, yeah. We were hugely popular in England and America.
And then when you come back to Ireland, after having that success and being involved in that success, you were looked on with adulation over here.
Yeah, they probably were, you know. It was great to get back to Ireland, you know. When we got the contract for Las Vegas, we did the same show for 3 or 4 years. 3 shows a night, 6 days a week for 3 years, and you couldn't change it. So only a 50-minute show.
Tony,
crazy.
When you were growing up, you're a little bit younger than this man, I'd say.
I am, but I was actually playing. I played in the Olympia when I was 12. I used to play every Friday and Sunday, and I actually played support to the Clipper Carlton as well. Almost from the first show band on,
yeah.
And then we ended up playing before the Royal as well. Who they were our idols, and so for us to be playing with them and all the other big bands. Roy Orbison played there, the Tremolos, Dave D, Gina Washington. There were other bands that we would consider, you know, great musicians like the Freshmen and Rob Strong and that, but the Royal just had something special that you couldn't put your finger on it, but it was just there.
Jerry, you did a bit of damage to your body over the years, I'd say.
A little bit. Yeah. The one good thing that, you know, we didn't get involved in was drugs, and that's why I hate to see young people, you know, young bands that are giving out an image to young people, and they're dabbling in these drugs. It's crazy. At least if we drank, you fall down, you go to sleep, and you get up again. But drugs were terrible, and they were freely available in America. We just thank God.
How did you stay away from them?
Scared, I think, more than anything else.
You were in hospital then for a bit.
I was, yeah.
And coming out of the hospital and people saying about coming to the Holy Ghost, again, your image of it was tempered by what you remember as a child.
That's right, yeah, that's right. And as I said, when I came in here, it was a revelation. I remember meeting Hillary for the first time in here, and he said to me, "This is your new home." And I thought, where's the nuns and the rosary and the benediction and all this? And it wasn't anything like that. I can come and go as I please, and it's wonderful.
Hillary, the story that Jerry says and Tony says, again, that image that people would have had with the Holy Ghost, again, you're too young to remember in the past, but the stories around the Holy Ghost had a certain reputation, didn't it?
Yeah, if you look at the history of the Holy Ghost, it goes back to 1545. It was granted under a charter by King Henry VIII, and the history is phenomenal. We're a 60-bedded unit. We're about to look at the new ensuite facilities.
And who owns the premises, the complex still?
Well, it's owned by nobody, but it's governed by the Board of Trustees, and they carry on the tradition over the years. Up to about 12 years ago, it was run by the Sisters of St. John of God Order. They were wonderful women. They ran 24/7 here for no pay, and I'm delighted that they're still keeping in touch with the home and they're still living around the city. Only for them, it probably would have come to an end when they retired about 2007 or 8. We had a decision to make because it would have been, you know, we engaged with the HSE and we didn't know where we'd go, but the HSE didn't want to know as such because they had enough on their plate. So we sat down as a board and said, right lads, let's do a strategic plan, go forward, what's involved. And we did over numerous meetings. We decided that we take it in hand and that we look after the people, and it's the best decision we ever made.
And one of the things, Tony, in terms of fundraising, there's an event coming up and people are giving their time for free. A major, major effort by everybody.
Yeah, I happened to meet I had trouble with my car, and I went in for a cup of coffee into the mansion, and Jerry was in there having a coffee, and we just sat down and started talking, and he asked me if Brass & Co would be interested in doing a charity night, and I said, look, I'll put it to the lads and see what they say, and they agreed. And nobody is getting anything. Even the food is donated and sponsored. Every penny raised in this will go to the home.
When is the night?
It's on Tuesday, the 23rd of July. And
in the Haven?
In the Haven Hotel, and Paul has been very good.
You would have been very good friends with Paul's father, John.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, there was a gang of them: Mike File, Brendan Gallagher, John, and they hung around together.
Quiet lads.
Oh, stop! But however, but
Lucas,
his son Paul has taken it over, and he's been so good to us. He's sponsoring everything. He's the marquee 3-course meal, a reception drink, and the bus, a free bus from Parnell Street.
And thank you, Jerry, and everybody that helped out with a little piece. As you said, tickets are €30 available from the Holy Ghost Residential Home and from the Haven Hotel in Dunmore East. Hi, Damien, says Pat. It used to be called the Matthew Shea. If so, we were all terrified of it. People around Waterford have that experience that if they heard of the Holy Ghost, if you were bold as a child, you're going to be sent to the Holy Ghost. We have 2 winners for the Imrama. Today we had Maureen Tobin from Lyre West in Lismore. Congratulations, Maureen. And yesterday we didn't read out her name. It was Deirdre Collender from Knockaty in Dungarvan, yesterday's winner. Congratulations to the both of them, and the very best of luck to ye, and hope you have a great time at the Imrama Festival of Travel Writing, one of the best festivals in the country for writing buffs. Stay with us. We have a really interesting topic about mortgages, and we're going to talk to people who are taking part in the Waterford WLR Viking Marathon.
Join the WLR conversation on Twitter using hashtag Déise Today.
With thanks to mulliganspharmacy.com.
Déise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. With 17 stores across the southeast, there's a Mulligan's pharmacy near you.
Now, welcome back to the programme. Johnny O'Connor, thank you so much for ringing me there a minute ago to correct me and all those involved in that interview we did, because people can be confused about these things and they go into folklore. The Good Shepherd would have been the laundry. The Matthew Shea is a different place altogether, says Johnny. So there was 3 different places. There was the Good Shepherd, there was the Holy Ghost, and there was the Matthew Shea. And there are 3 different places, says Johnny O'Connor. So, Johnny, thanks for that. We might talk about that someday soon. And the very best of luck to everybody with the Holy Ghost and their fundraiser. James Quinlan, good morning.
Good morning, Damien.
How are you getting on?
Not too bad at all. Thank you very much for having me in again.
Not at all. Thank you for coming in. You're a dedicated mortgage arrears advisor with Waterford MABS, the Awalia service. We're going to talk about a topic which will affect a lot of people, and people will be interested to know about it. It's this idea of mortgage to rent. Can you explain in very simple terms what is mortgage to rent?
Right, so we're getting a lot of queries into our office of late from there's a cohort of people that can't afford at the moment to pay their mortgage down or to pay off the mortgage over the longer term. Now, there's an option for them, if they qualify, to rent the home back from a housing agency or a housing body and pay a local authority rent rather than paying a mortgage. Okay, the property would transfer to this body. They wouldn't have the ownership of the property, but there would be an opportunity, if circumstances change, to buy it back down the line. But they would be paying a rent based on local authority rates. So, it would be affordable to them down the line or as they go forward.
As you say, affordable, how does somebody qualify for this?
Right, it depends on the family size. Let's take 2 adults, 2 children. If their income is under 35,000 in the year, the value of the house under 280,000, they can have up to 2 extra bedrooms in the house. They will qualify for what we call social housing approval, which is done through the local authority, through Waterford City and County Council.
And in terms of that, Does the mortgage lender need to give a letter? Does the mortgage lender need to agree to this?
Yes, like take Bank of Ireland for argument's sake. Bank of Ireland would have to write to you and sort of say, yes, we will consider it as an option because your mortgage is unsustainable at this time. So they consider it as an option. You can use that letter then to go to the local authority to apply for social housing approval. There's a lot of documentation involved. But what I would say to people is don't be afraid of the documentation. This is what we are there to help people. Come in and we will assist you in the office with that.
The situation then is that the City and County Council can deal with you and the MABs can work with you in filling out these documentation, and then the housing agency or the housing body has to get involved as well.
Yes, the housing agency was set up by the government to more or less run the scheme. Now, what they do is they would advertise the house for sale. There's no for sale sign going on your property. They would advertise it through to some of the iCare, Home for Life, Respond, Clua. There's various bodies that would buy the property from the bank and rent it back to you, as we said earlier, at an appropriate price that would suit you. The value, there would be valuations done on the property to make sure that you're on the 280,000 value. They would do a survey on the house to make sure that the house is not physically falling down, that there is a certain amount of money allocated to cover up-to-date repairs that need to be done, if the windows need to be replaced, your heating boiler upgraded, that type of thing. So it is an opportunity for people that can't physically afford to do it at this time, that they could go through this scheme and have the house upgraded to a certain standard for them.
Do you have to pay then for solicitors and things like that?
No, the solicitors will be covered in the overall scheme. So let's say, for argument's sake, your house is valued at 200,000. Whoever buys it, let's say iCare, Home for Life, or whoever is buying the house, they will probably be buying that for about 85% of the value of the property. The balance is used to cover the legal fees, the whatever is involved, yes, or the repairs or whatever like that.
And then obviously in terms of maintaining the house and how long you'd have that agreement for, how does that work out?
Normally it is about a 25-year lease. Now the real good thing for people in the house is the maintenance of the house becomes the responsibility of the body that's renting you the house. So like if down the line your fascia, your soffit needed to be replaced, it's their responsibility. They're not going to come and paint the front room for you, but they will replace the doors, the windows, as I said earlier about the heating boiler. If that needs to be upgraded or repaired in any way, that is their responsibility.
If anybody wants to find out about this, get in touch with MABs, do they?
Get in touch with MABs. I always give the website mabs.ie. The phone number is hard to remember, 076 107 2050. But if you go in on mabs.ie and drop down to the office you want to go to, be it Waterford City, in the county, in Dungarvan, or there's various offices in Kilkenny, Wexford, Clonmel. So there's plenty of offices there to avail of it. But we work through the Waterford City office based at Canada Street, and we will assist you with all this.
James Quinlan, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We'll talk to you again soon. Margaret rang to say about the Holy Ghost story. There was never a laundry attached to the Holy Ghost. It was run by the St. John of God's nuns, and the laundry was connected to the Good Shepherds. You're 100% right, Margaret. And Jerry had got me confused originally there regarding his experiences of the laundry. So thank you very much, Margaret, for ringing in, and thank you, Johnny O'Connor, for that. Next, we're going to talk about running.
WhatsApp Damien now on 083 3333 975. Déise today on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. Make life easy. Pull into Ireland's only drive-through pharmacy at Mulligan's Arkeen.
I made no promises. I can't do golden rings, but I'll give you everything.
Déise today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
Thanks to Mulligan's. With 17 stores across the southeast, there's a Mulligan's pharmacy near you.
Now, welcome back to the programme. A lovely text from Shirley. Damien, the Holy Ghost was and is such a wonderful home from the staff to the residents. My late aunt lived there for the remaining years. Bridget and her staff could never be thanked enough, and that is from Shirley. Damien, great to hear Roddy earlier make such sense about what's happening in the city, and I hope the council are listening. Damien, could you please highlight the need for litter bins? I live in Lismore Park and take my dog walking. The paths are badly soiled with dog poo. Clean up everywhere. Oh, when you're running and going around, folks, dog poo is it's terrible, isn't it? Absolutely. A special mention also, if people are in the Dungarvan area, that they want to go to Fraherfield today between 2 and 7 o'clock to be part of the filming of The Spectators at a hurling game in the movie. So there's a movie called Spectators. Sorry, the movie is called... Not sure what the movie is called. McGraw Boone, I think, is taking place. Yeah, it's in Ring Gaeltacht. So they're doing a special thing in Fraherfield today if you want to take part as a spectator in this movie. So go along to Fraherfield between 2 o'clock and 7 today. Now, we're joined by Roisin Ferris, event coordinator. Good morning, Roisin.
Good morning.
We've got Andrew Hepburn. Andrew is a participant and sponsor in the Waterford Viking Marathon. Congratulations. How are you doing?
Good, yeah, thank you.
Good. And we also have Breda Griffin. Breda's with the Greenway Joggers Group. Good morning, Breda.
Good morning.
How are you all keeping?
Good, thanks. Great.
Thank you.
Breda, tell us a little bit first about the Greenway Joggers Group.
Well, we formed in 2016. We just formed, it was Walk to Run with Sinead Brannigan under Waterford Sports Partnership. We started with 5 and now 3 years on nearly we have in the region of 35 people running, like mixed ages, non-competitive group, but the friendships along the way are just unreal. You know, it's the enjoyment to get out of it rather than competing in anything. And a lot of people take part in different events on a personal level, and then as groups we take part.
When do you go out?
We go out, mostly it's Saturday mornings. We meet at different times at the coach house is our meet-up point. And then we go out on Mondays, at the moment training with Sinead Brannigan. She's with us for the past 5 weeks as a group for the training for the relay for the Viking Marathon.
Do you love it?
I love it. It's mentally, physically, it's brilliant. I never thought I'd be running, and it's unreal. And a lot of us are the same. So it's most enjoyable. Yeah,
so you can start off just doing a little bit of jogging, just a bit of walking, mix it up, a bit of walking, running, and then just pick it up as you go along.
Exactly. And like there's a mixed age, which is brilliant, you know, so it's great.
Andrew, tell us about your own situation.
Well, I've been in Waterford a long time now, and I wanted to do something back for people of Waterford, so we decided to approach Roisin about doing some sponsorship with the water, which is all going ahead and it's all good. So, like, I was a small independent company, and now I've merged into a bigger company, the Me and Family Food Group, which is in Wexford, Scallons. Waterford is me, and Dublin Food House in Dublin. So we wanted to give something back. It was an opportunity for me to give something back to the people of Waterford. And then I was listening to the advert one morning, and it said about the quarter marathon run, walk, and, you know, I said, I might just give this a go, like walk it, you know. So that was in my head. And then unfortunately a colleague of mine was in Liverpool and he got attacked and he ended up in a coma. Thank God he's back in Ireland now. He was in a coma for a number of weeks and he's going to need a lot of rehab. So I said, I'm going to do this walk. I'm going to raise a few pounds for him. It puts me back being part of a sponsor. It's again giving something back into it, you know. And I've got my wife is going to walk with me, sister-in-law Kathy. I've got 2 people coming from the Wexford store and 2 people coming from the Dublin store.
That's fabulous.
So it's just you know, and I'm enjoying it. It's like I'm not a fit fella, and I'm walking 3 to 4 miles a day, and you know I'm happy that I'll achieve what I want to achieve.
And do you feel better since you've started doing this?
Yeah, it's actually it's a bit unusual. You kind of get time to think about things. Before, I'd be driving out in and out to Tremor and I'd see a fella run or a fella cycling and I'd be saying to myself, some odd day, what's wrong with them fellas? But I tell you, you can solve a lot of problems when you're on your own for a little walk, you know.
Because of the headspace.
Yeah.
And it's such a cliche, this headspace, but you know, it is something tangible, isn't it?
It is, you know, and I'm enjoying it, you know, and I'm losing a bit of weight, so there's so many good things that come out of the one idea to do the sponsorship. I'm really looking forward to it.
Roisin, there's so many good stories and different stories, and people can enter the quarter, they can enter the half, they can be part of a group, they can do the full marathon. That's one of the secrets of the success of this
yeah, that's
this
the
race.
beauty of it, isn't it? And that's what I personally love most about this event, is the fact that it is so inclusive. There's family members that are doing, the full, the half and the quarter, and there's team or, colleagues within work, and, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters. It's really, because there is so many levels, options there for people on the day, it really opens it up, and it makes for a really special day.
Most people have registered now. What's the situation regarding registering? How can people register?
Registration's still open right up until this coming Sunday, not midnight. So still time to take part. Obviously, most of the full marathoners have probably made up their mind at this stage. Well, they'd want to have anyway. But there's still some people. Will I not? Will I do the half? Will I do the quarter? But there's a bit of time left there. WaterfordVikingMarathon.com is where they register, and that's open till Sunday midnight.
Breda, how's it been for you in terms of your interaction with people, as you say, and your mental health and also your physical well-being?
It's unreal that you meet so many. There's different age levels, and unfortunately we lost a lovely member of our group, and that's how the hospice is so close to our hearts.
What was this person's name?
Mary Weldon. She was my own personal friend, but she was part of the group. She was brilliant. So we did a walk on the Greenway, and the money, we raised €2,000. And I know Brick Welsh well, and I got Brick to come to the hospital and present the money, and it was €2,000, and I know Mary would have been so proud. And it means the hospice is benefiting from this at the Viking, so it's unreal. And to have so many friends when Mary left us, it was brilliant that we had so many. We all felt the loss, but we had all the backup. Like you say, it's mentally and physically, it's brilliant.
That sense of well-being, Andrew, it permeates a lot of things, doesn't it?
It just clears your mind, and I have lots of different problems and issues in work and things you can't seem to resolve them. But when you're out for that hour walk or whatever, you just see everything in a different light, And when you're walking along, I do the Tramore Road. There's little things on the floor that you see, like there's a compact disc lying upside down, and all these things are my markers when I'm walking.
Really, yeah.
And I was timing myself, but then everybody said don't time, just keep. I was trying to keep pushing, but I don't do that now. But I do have my little. I know where there's a 7-Up can upside down, and I know where there's different things, and there's little numbers on the barriers. The barriers have little numbers that you would never see, but when I'm walking along, I have my goal of which number I need to get to. And
it's like any journey you take, it gives you a different perspective. If you go kayaking on a river, it gives you a different perspective of the land. If you go running, different perspective, same sort of things. In terms of the weather, it's too early to say, obviously, Roisin, in terms of what the weather is going to be like. We had issues last year with the weather. It's not that warm at the minute.
It is a little bit far out now for us to tell. We'll have more of an idea hopefully by this weekend. But look, I don't think it's going to be as hot as last year.
It might be cold.
It was an exception last year, was the hottest day of the year. It was exceptionally
can you remember?
hot.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
It really was.
But it does. You got through it, and you've done it in terms of that. So if anything did happen like that again, it's another contingency that you put in place.
I suppose, it was,
and all the volunteers that help out, and everybody that helps out. There's an amazing community comes together for it.
It's amazing. We have so many volunteers that are involved in this. From the committee level, right through to on the day. Obviously without them all, it literally wouldn't take place, and our sponsors as well.
It's
great to see the likes of Andrew taking on board that, wanting to give back something to the community.
Exactly. It's fantastic.
We're kind of our group is called the Me and Family Food, and we are family and community. They do different things in Dublin, Newbridge, Wexford. It's just giving that little something appreciative of the business we get, because we don't have too many customers of water, maybe 100 customers, but each of them 100 customers have another 100 customers. So it's just.
Roisin Ferris, the very best of luck with the registrations, and very best of luck with everything on the day. Andrew Hepburn, thank you and well done, and continued success in your business and in your own life. Breda Griffin, continued success with the group, and hope everything goes well.
Thank
you. Say hello to Brick Ferris and everybody else.
And can I just say hello to all the children and staff in Kilmacthomas Primary School.
Absolutely. Special hello to them.
Yeah.
Now, thank you everybody that have been texting in, and a special mention, as I say, to everybody that listened to that Holy Ghost piece, and what a fabulous facility it is there. We have a lot more coming up tomorrow. Firstly, Jeff is coming up straight after the news at 12. Thanks to Jennifer, thanks to David, and for everybody involved in the show.